Welcome to TradeTheNBI.com. This is John's report is for the 17th of May. Well, we had the retrace dip back down to the positive extreme, which was right just below the 61% Fibonacci line here. And then once we got right above the 76, it was nonstop all Friday, straight up. There wasn't really any deviation from it. We had the magenta crossing above the yellow again, which took place after the first dip day. And from an for a DOC standpoint, at least, you had rising midterm and short-term buyers. Now you're getting a little bit of follow-through with long-term, and of course, orange below red. Always a good thing. You would expect the day to end up on a green note simply because these tend to run in threes. If it doesn't, I think that would trigger some concern among people. You might see some additional selling from there. From an NQ standpoint, this was really where the focus in my mind was. This was all about that 50%. We typically saw the institutions buying up every time it got to that 50%, and when it broke back below it the other day, it was really critical that it get back to it, and then it fought above it, but still closed right below it. So that move Friday, when it got above and was able to continue, was really significant. It was coming off these deep dips in the NBI red below zero, which tend to give pretty decent turnarounds. And of course, we have the magenta cross above yellow right when it was right below that 50% line. So once it got above it, it was off to the races, so to speak, or at least it was a green light to go ahead and buy that dip portion of it. From a gold standpoint, it's going to continue to rise just a little bit at a time. It's going to depend too. When there are pullback situations, you're going to see gold take dips simply because, again, like I've said, people liquidate those in order to cover margin conditions, and that's sort of an offset hedge play. Of course, we were seeing it in Bitcoin as well. Bitcoin hammered quite a bit recently from its peak. These are significant moves, which makes it really tough to believe that there's going to be, a degree of credibility for an exchange when you can have these $20,000, couple of day dips in value, which is a significant percentage drop when you're looking at losing, 20 and 30% of the value of something overnight, or in some cases within hours. That makes it hard to justify as a stable setup. This is why you look at things like the euro, and that even this is kind of a dramatic move when you see this kind of change from this 117 to 121. That's pretty huge from a currency standpoint, and really affects a lot of money changing hands overseas in that. And you can imagine the Europeans are not thrilled with that concept, but Fed runs the story, and that's the way it is right now, so you don't fight the Fed. And we still don't know whether or not the Fed will be getting into buying more treasuries. We already know they do it under the new facility acts that have been passed, so it's always interesting, and we'll see if it plays out in the future. But from the buy setup that took place down below, we had this yellow dip below the blue, in this case dipping all the way below zero, which pretty oversold config at that particular point. Though even if you wait for the orange dip below red, happens just a little bit up. It's just non-stop up from there with tiny little correction, but you can see almost immediately you get magenta moving back above yellow. It's kind of a net wash zero setup in those cases, but then continues. And each little time there's a minor setback. Some of them are a little bit more than others. I mean, they still represent a few points, not many, relative to the increase, because a 5-point dip and another 25-point rise. Big difference between those two. And you can see there just wasn't anything to do. Just let it go. Worked out just fine. Towards the later part of the session, a little bit of profit taking, moving back down to the 50% ranges and then popping back up. And then, of course, in the post market, we're filling back some more of these additional positive extremes. I marked the lower ones. Some of these higher level ones are what have just been filled, so I took care of those. As always, I will continue to update you with charts on the Skype chat and any special configurations that are developing. Trade well, and we'll talk to you later.